Hey, it's Del Jackson, LOHoops.com, Zoom interview with Coach Tommy Smith of Cedar Crest. Hey, Coach, we got a lot to talk about. How you doing, big guy?
Great, Coach. Appreciate you reaching out and looking forward to talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, well, you and I never have a problem for words, I don't think. So we'll
Good,
try to
good
keep
story.
it at a half an hour so people don't get bored with us. Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
Hey, the first thing that I want to talk about tonight is, and you and I talked off camera a little bit, is last year, the last win that Cedar Crest had last year, you had your 200th win. And I know we talked about it. So what's your feeling now? I know on off camera you were concerned about the next game and you weren't really into that, but let's go back in time and now and reflect on your thoughts on that.
I mean, I'd be lying to tell you, it doesn't feel like number one that I've been coached that long to have 200 wins, which is crazy. But when I took over this program a number of years ago, 200 wins was probably nothing that I even thought would be a reality. And here we are, and so looking back on it, what an incredible accomplishment. Um, you know, but of course, it's not just that's not a 200 wins just for Coach Smith. That's a program. 200 wins in the program. I've had incredible kids who've played for me over the years. I've had an incredible staff who has been by my side from the start. Um, and what an incredible accomplishment. I really do believe that. Um, but again, it's a like anything else. There was a lot of things that fell the right way for me, and probably the most being that we've had just some incredible athletes that I've been able to coach, incredible players I've been able to coach throughout my tenure at Cedar Crest, and I hope they feel as proud about 200 wins that I've had as I do, because they should.
Yeah, we did a book last year, 50 years of the LL, and then we put in 200 win coaches, and I think you're number 14 coach. So there's only 14 coaches in the LL that have hit 200 or more in their career. So to me, that being a little history buff on the LL, that's big time, brother, big time.
Well, I appreciate it, and again, to think of it that way, I mean that is an incredible accomplishment, and super proud that I was able to do it at my alma mater. Again, like I told you off camera a little bit, I bleed blue and gray, man, and so what a awesome thing for me and for our school district and for the school and for the program.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't know like your career path, and I know I do because I've coached against you at various levels, and we've always had good chit chats before the game. So take me back to like ninth grade when you were coaching ninth grade. How was that like? And then progressing up to be the head coach.
Yeah, so again, I graduated, and so I played for Frank Kuhn, incredible person, incredible coach for me. And his assistant was Coach Dissinger, who's our current AD. And so when I graduated college, Coach was Coach Dissinger was the head coach at Cedar Crest, and came to me and was like, I need a freshman coach. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And again, it was my first opportunity to coach basketball. I was a football coach prior to that, and I just got my feet wet and I loved it. And then that ended up being Coach Dissinger's last year, and then a friend of mine who then got the head coaching job, Dee Bossert, brought me up to coach as an assistant on the JV varsity level, and so learned so much under him. That guy just knew so much basketball, and I was able to just soak it all in. And after 2 years, he got out. His son started to come up at Elko. I'm sure a lot of you guys heard his name before, Mason Bossert.
Mm-hmm.
He got out to kind of focus on his own son, and left me the opportunity. And so it kind of came pretty quick. So 1 year at freshman, 2 years as a JV varsity assistant, and then interviewed for the for the varsity job, and Holy World, they hired me.
So the other thing that some people don't know about you, and I do just because of personal experience, but when you first took over, there wasn't a lot of district caliber teams there. So how did you let's talk about that. How did you build from the beginning to, let's say, the middle where you had that run of four teams in the LL finals?
Yeah. So first off, I hired a great staff, and along with them, we all had this. We had um, a bunch of Cedar Crest. I had a bunch of Cedar Crest assistants who, again, had the same type of pride in the program that I did, along with my first assistant who's been with me since then, Isaac Custer, who won a state championship at Anvil Cleona under Coach Para.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was teaching at Cedar Crest and a good friend of mine. So I brought him on. So, again, he came from a tremendous background of basketball as well. And we had this vision of what we thought Cedar Crest could be. And we took our first couple of years to just build the culture
Mm-hmm.
of the program, what we thought it took to win. And, coming at a high school that, you don't recruit, you're dealt the cards you're dealt on a year in, year out basis. We took what we thought was the most successful offense and defense that we could implement on a year-to-year basis, along with our competitive natures that we all had as athletes growing up, and just evolved it into a culture. And I will tell you this: our first year we won 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Our second year we won 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
But each of those 2 years, we built the culture, and the kids believed in it, and that was what got the ball rolling. It was the kids. It was the kids buying into what we were selling. And then once we had the kids in the program for 3 years, 4 years, and then they understood what the expectations were. And it's just been that expectation from then on. So really, I really give a lot of credit to my first 2 year, the first 2 classes I've coached, because they didn't win a lot, but they bought into what we were selling, and they bought into what we were coaching them to do, which set the tone for the younger kids who understood what it took. And then the ball just got rolling. And ever since then, like I said, we haven't lowered those expectations. And every class that comes in and comes through, they know what the expectation is.
Let me ask you this coaching thing. So 13 years, you coached a lot of kids. Some of those kids stay in touch with you, like weddings and things like that?
Absolutely. And honestly, Coach, we have right now on my coaching staff, I have, from my junior high on up, my freshman coach had played for me. 2 of my JV varsity assistants have played for me. I've had 2 or 3 other coaches within my staff at one point in time who had coached for me. And as a coach, that is probably my most favorite thing, is when these kids come back and want to be a part of the program that I feel helped them reach where they are now, whether it's in their professional job, at college, whatever. Just this past summer, I was at 2 weddings. I just came home from picking my son up from basketball today, and I had a hat from one of my former players' companies sitting on my mailbox.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, I'm having dinner with Brody Dunlop, who is in the military. He's home because he's about to go on deployment, and reached out to me, and we're gonna have dinner tomorrow night. So, the relationships that you build with these young men, and then they carry on into their adulthood, I think for me is as important as any of those 200 wins that I have, on the court. And I think, again, that's kind of the culture that we've built at Cedar Crest through Cedar Crest basketball, is a family oriented type culture. And I think all the kids who play for me and end up finishing their career for me at Cedar Crest know that they're part of my family. And the nice thing for me when they reached back out to me, and we were able to have conversations, dinners, weddings, what have you. But like I said, that's as important to me as any win that I will ever have.
That's something sometimes our fans don't quite understand, is the connections we have with kids. Even if your program's not quote unquote a winning program, there's still connections that go on. And not with all kids and not with all coaches and not with all parents, but there's some really good stuff, and you've touched on it. So let me ask you this here, big guy. I'm looking at your background. So take me through the jerseys first. What's going on with these jerseys behind you?
Oh, geez.
Give us a tour.
All right. So, man, I'm trying to look here. So to my right, fortunately, again, Coach Custer played for Coach Para at Anvil Cleona, who then went on to coach James Harden in high school, college, and in the pros, or not in the pros, in high school and college, I'm sorry. But when James got to the pros, he was able to get me a signed jersey from James. So that's on the right. My middle, I'm hoping he figures it out and stays in Philly and get this right, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
The middle one is my college jersey. I actually not a basketball player in college. I played football at Millersville. Fun fact that not probably a lot of people know. And then actually the one here, this last one, I'm not a soccer guy by any stretch of the imagination, but my son played soccer when he was little, and he was at a soccer tournament, and Ryan Plistic was there. So my son got his jersey signed to him, so we got it framed, and so this is where it hangs.
Nice. All right, so the next question is going to be: you got a ton of basketballs back there, brother. Let's do some more touring of the den here.
Yeah, right. Far left is actually one of mine from high school. I was the leading three-point shooter in my high school, so that was the ball that I got when I broke that record. The next one is a league championship game 2014. We beat McCaskey. The next one is a league championship. I'm sorry. The first one was actually the Section 1 playoff game we had to play, which we don't do anymore. But we had to play McCaskey the third time that year, and we beat them. So that's what that ball was, the section championship. The one to the right is the league championship. We beat them that year in 2014. The next one, 2015, we had to play them again in a section championship. We beat them on that one. Then my 100th win was at Lebanon in 2016. And then my 200th win was, like you said, the last game that we played. Then we played Lebanon in the league championship in, I think that was 15, I think. Then the next ones are Lanks 11 League, our Section 1 champions from 2020. And then our league championship against Warwick in that same year. And then the final one is one of my coaching idols, Roy Williams. I was able to get his autograph at a coaching clinic.
Nice.
I know you're a Dookie, but
Carolina guy. I tell you, I went to a clinic. We used to go down to DeMatha's clinic every year, and Coach Wooden would run it, and he would have some big time guys because they were always recruiting his players. And Dean Smith was one of the speakers. And I'm sitting there and I'm soaking this all in. And all these coaches around me is like, oh, that's, what good is he? He's not giving us anything and this and that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. He just, to me, he was doing all that run and jump stuff. And I'm like, this is pretty good. So, I don't know about the rest of them guys, but I had a little UNC in my blood, after that.
Right.
So, yeah, it was some good stuff. And then, of course, Lebo played down there, and it was always fun. It was always fun watching him play. So tell me your preparation. Obviously, you've had a lot of experience with leagues. So tell me your preparation, like going into leagues and then going into districts. I know some of our people in our league, we point to that league final, which is pretty cool. I mean, our league, I think, is unique in that winning the LL is probably more than the mid-pen guys winning the mid-pen or the Berks guys winning the Berks. York's kind of like us, I think. a little bit, but I think there's just something special in the tournament. So talk to me about your preparation when your team qualifies for the tournament. How do you deal with that? Maybe you don't do anything different than what you've done. I don't know.
Are you the league tournament?
Yeah, so let's talk
Yeah,
with the league first.
yeah. So again, the one thing that I try to preach to my guys, and it actually starts day one, but it's so hard to not look forward to a bigger game down the road or whatever. But we try to stay in the moment, and I preach it all the time. But when you get to the league playoffs, you have to be in the moment every single possession. Practices change a little bit. Every possession counts. You just got to make sure that the kids are in that same mindset because it's win and go home, or win or go home.
Yeah.
And there is no tomorrow. So we talk about staying in the moment, win every possession. And the other thing too, which may sound crazy, is don't be afraid to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Don't play tight. Go out and make a mistake, because if you're playing loose, you're gonna have a better opportunity to win and move on. And just through talking about it a lot, obviously, scouting reports towards the end of the year become a little bit more intense, less on court stuff, save legs, more scouting, more game plan stuff, and watching film and understanding. I mean, not that we don't do that throughout the entire season, but again, practice are maybe down to an hour and a half, and then maybe you're an hour in the film room, something like that. Just a little more attention to detail. And but I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is just the mindset. You just have to have a different mindset when you go in there. And the other thing too is, when you get into the tournament, right, you have all these good teams, right? 8 great teams make it to the LL tournament. You only have to win 3
Mm-hmm.
to win it all. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not playing all 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing too that we always just keep in the back of our mind. So it's got to be one game at a time, and understand you don't got to beat everyone in that tournament, even though there's so many good teams.
Yeah. How about let's go to districts. I mean, I was on the floor when you lost to York. I think it's twice in a row, and both the games were really, really close. So you've had some runs in the District 3 tournament. Is that different than the LL, or it's the same mindset that you just talked about?
Same mindset. You spoke a little bit before about that other leagues may not care as much about their league championship as much as they do the district. We are at our first goal, number one, is section. Second goal is leagues. And if you can win section 1, and you can win the Lancaster 11 league, you're going to prepare yourself to be successful in the district playoffs. So those are our 2 main goals. Once you get into districts, again, same mindset, different teams you're not as familiar with, and that's where some of the scouting for me becomes really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, preparing scouting reports and putting game plans together to go against some of the the best players and the best teams in the district is what becomes really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset is the same. Mindset is still the same. Every possession counts at practice. From the time you lace your sneakers up and you walk in that gym, you better win every drill. You better win every possession, because if you don't, you're going home at the end of the day. And it has to be that mindset all the time.
How about states? And I know states is a different animal. Sometimes you have a week off. You're playing teams from Allentown. You're playing teams from all over the place. You certainly can't have, now maybe you do with the huddle. You can't have the same amount of scouting and familiarity with these teams. So is there anything different that you do once you hit the state playoffs?
Well, so we've had the opportunity to play in the state playoffs 3 times. 2 of the times we were the higher seed and we won. One of the times we in 2020 we went out and we played at Mount Lebanon, and they just absolutely kicked our butt. We were not at all ready for them. But I think that you're not as familiar, and it almost comes back to almost like pickup basketball, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit more of a structure to it. But you can only prepare so much for these teams that you're not familiar with. And then it comes down to, are your guys better than the other guys? And with a little bit of scheme involved, but went out and played Mount Lebanon, who trapped all over the court on this small court. And no matter what we did to prepare for that game, it wasn't going to matter.
They were just better.
They were better at what they did.
Yeah.
We hadn't played a team like that all year. No matter, we knew what they were going to do. We could not recreate what they were going to do to us in practice. And even though we thought we prepared our kids the best. Our kids prepared as hard as they could possibly prepare. When we got out there, it was just a different animal. And that's the reality of state basketball. When you get to that level, it's just everybody is good.
Yeah.
And can you execute what you do better than what the other team executes? Because again, you're not gonna recreate or try to put anything. You're not recreating the wheel for yourself. You're gonna do what you do. You're gonna do what you do, and just hopefully you can do it better than what the other team can do. Because and that night we couldn't. Yeah, but we did have some success in the state championship or in the state playoffs. We were able to beat Lower Merion one year, and we were able to beat Springford one year. And then both years in the second round, we had Roman Catholic on the ropes, who ended up winning the state championship. And the year before that, we actually had LaSalle College. Man, we were one possession away from putting the game away. They ended up coming back and beating us in overtime, and then going on to play for the state championship that year. They lost to team out of Pittsburgh. And then of course Roman Catholic went on to win the state championship. But in both those years we had both those teams on the ropes, deep into games. And so just incredible experience.
Yeah. It's always good to get there. It's always good to have some stories. It's always good to compete. I know we've been covering the state final. The LA Hoop's been covering the state finals for how many years, but we're in courtside, and as you said, usually it's a different animal out there in the finals. You're talking 2 or 3 Division I guys, and we're talking some big time coaches sitting there eating their popcorn, and Calipari's been there for the last couple of years, and it's just a different brand of basketball at that level anyway. At that level. Yeah. So no hey, doubt. What we'll leave you with this. What are your, I already know the answers, but I'm going to say, what are your goals here going in?
Again, I'm going to give you, what I've told you before. We are always, our first goal is win Section 1. Even my first year when I took over, that was our goal. Did we really think that we could win it that year? No. We knew we couldn't, but that was what we were fighting for. That's what that was our goal. And now I got the dudes, and so our first goal is to win Section 1, and which is difficult, with all the great coaches within Section 1, with all the great players. So again, we feel if we're able to win Section 1, it gives us great opportunity going into league playoffs, which is then would be our second goal. And again, competing in the league playoffs and putting a good run together, and then into the district playoffs and put a good run together. You win 1 or 2 in there, anything can happen. And so that's always our goal once we get to that level. This year, to speak about my team a little bit, we have 4 seniors who were starters as sophomores, and I have a bunch of juniors who played a lot for me last year and are ready to compete. And so I really like our chances. I really think that this year we could be pretty good. I really think so.
That's neat. Hey, I know I said I was going to leave you with your goals, but we talked about your guys playing football, and it seems to me that you're one of the few schools that have a lot. I mean, everybody has some kids playing football and basketball, but it seems like Cedar Crest has that. We're going to play football. We're going to play basketball. The basketball player playing football. and there's not a lot of animosity. I know you used to coach, so that helps a little bit. So tell me the benefits of that. Just tell me what you think are the benefits of a lot of your kids right now playing football. So getting out of the gate, you might not get out of the gate quite as well, but what do you see as a positive from that?
So, first off, I played football myself and basketball. So that, like, I totally get this, and we're a small 6A school. And if we're going to be competitive, we need to share athletes. That's just the reality of it. Coach Wilson, the head football coach, and myself have a very good relationship, work with each other quite a bit so that these kids do not have to choose one way or the other. Okay. So, that number one has been very good. Number two, some of the benefits that I get as football players, and anyone who's played football knows this, and not every sport has a different type of toughness, in my opinion. The toughness that these kids are going to bring from the football field onto the basketball court is what's going to help us be successful. Every year that I've been successful, we've had a mix of football players and a mix of basketball only players. And we're going to kind of have that same this year. I have a few kids in the gym right now. Like I said to you earlier, a majority of my guys, varsity guys, are on the football field and competing at a very high level, and doing some great things. They're going to bring that toughness and that competitiveness that they're working on right now from that football field into the gym in the winter, and that's going to help us out.
Yeah. I know watching you guys, usually on the defensive end, you're pretty tough. I mean, all you guys move well, and I get to sit behind the coaches or around the coaches sometimes, and I hear the defensive. You can almost tell. I talk to some of our people, and it's like, okay, you can watch a coach, and it doesn't take you long to say he's a defensive coach or he's an offensive coach. Not that you can't do both, brother, but I think some of your culture leans towards what you're doing at Cedar Crest. So anyway, hey, congratulations on 200. Let's keep you around for another 100. What do you think?
I'm going to do my best, my man. I'll do my best.
Well, hey, 20 wins. That's only 5 years. 20 wins,
Jeez.
5 years. What do you
Oh,
think?
man.
Huh?
That'd be fantastic. I mean, goodness gracious. You know what? I love what I do. I love the kids at Cedar Crest. I love coaching. As long as I have this ability and God willing, I'll be here for a while. That's my plan. But we're 1 year at a time, and I can't wait for November.
Yeah, nice. You're teaching there too, right? Correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right, man. Hey, good luck. Thank you for giving us some time here on the Phillies night, and the Phillies are coming up here soon. So we'll let you get back to some baseball watching and relaxing before you hit the hard court. Thank you, Coach, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for having me, man. Always great talking to you.
All right, buddy.